Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New. I'm coming at you on this Saturday. And first and foremost, as always, I want to send out positive vibrations and blessings to anybody who could be listening. Now, with all that being said, we all know that the Los Angeles Lakers fell on last game and allowed the Warriors to tie the series up 1-1. And they have a pivotal game tonight back at home in the friendly confines of the Crypto.com arena, taking on the Golden State Warriors tonight in a much-anticipated matchup. Now, this series is starting to look a lot like last series, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But one thing I want to jump right into it first to lead off the show is, pre-series, I predicted Lakers in 6, just like I did with Memphis. But in the pregame analysis that I said leading into the series, that the only way the Golden State Warriors could combat what the Los Angeles Lakers would do on defense, because the length and the size of them, because of the Vanderbilt's ability to chase when Steph Curry is going downhill, and the ability of Anthony Davis to come up and meet Steph Curry to not allow him easy looks at the rim, then it was going to be particularly difficult for the Golden State Warriors unless they made key adjustments. And one of those adjustments that I stated was exactly the adjustment that they made, and that was putting Steph Curry in a lot of pick and roll, and high pick and roll at that, because in game one, as you can see, he was more so running off the screens with Vanderbilt chasing him and staying glued to him, and with Vanderbilt able to block him from behind, because Vanderbilt has the length where he can do what other players can't do, such as a Marcus Smart who's chasing him over a screen and multiple screens. Vando had the length to be able to do so, and then of course AD with the length to come out to kind of negate these plays in the paint for Steph Curry that we saw him do time and time again, especially in the Sacramento series. Steph Curry, as we know, is one of the top players at finishing at the rim, even though he is one of the smaller players in the league, much like a Tony Parker used to do years ago. But at the end of the day, the Golden State Warriors made that necessary adjustment as far as putting Steph Roll as the primary ball handler and allowing him to play high pick and roll, which with that person who's setting the screen for him allows Curry to set up Vando, the defender, whether it be Vando or whoever, shooter. It allows him to dictate where he's going, which side of the screen he's going to go to allow himself to free up himself just a little bit more. And if that's the case, then Steph Curry doesn't need a whole lot of room to knock his shots down, because we all know with just a little bit of space, he is probably the greatest shooter of all time, and all he needs is a little bit of space to get it going. But of course, Darvin Ham, unbeknownst to me and anybody else, for some reason, and whether it was Anthony Davis deciding to make these reads, even if it was AD making these reads at the beginning, Darvin Ham should have called timeout and made the necessary adjustments, because time in and time out, Anthony Davis, instead of going to a drop coverage or instead of going to a switch, because maybe they didn't talk about game planning on a switch, instead, Anthony Davis would blitz, come out of the paint all the way out to double Curry to try to get the ball out of his hand, and then the short roller of Draymond Green would make them pay every time with kicking it over to a JaMychal Green or to somebody else in the corner who was able to knock down shot after shot, especially with Klay Thompson when he had it going. So the Lakers, Steph Curry, if you look at his stats, you would think, well, he only had 20 points. We shut Steph Curry down. No, he had a masterful game and was the best player in the game because of those 12 assists. He was giving Draymond so many free runs at the rim, and the Lakers, instead of adjusting to what they were doing, they continued with the same game plan. They let it get out. If you think about it, the game was still tied up with like 4 minutes left in the second quarter until Golden State went on that run. And I think we're up by 12 at halftime. And next thing you know, by the third quarter, they got it going. And then the Lakers waved the white flag in the fourth quarter. And I see a lot of people out here saying, oh, LeBron James scored 22. He only scored 2 points in the second half. Well, he didn't play in the fourth quarter, for one. For two, they had already got it going and went up in the third quarter. So at this point, for some reason, I don't know why the Lakers decided to get into a shootout with the Golden State Warriors, because as I saw that lead go up, and there's a lot of things that contributed to the loss, not just what I just spoke about. So I'm going to get into that as well. But if you look at it, a lot of things that the Lakers were doing just didn't make sense, especially as far as shooting a lot of threes, because if you look at the first game, the Lakers were 6 out of 25 from three. The Warriors were 21 out of 53 from three in the first game in which the Lakers won. But, of course, on the next game, the Lakers, the Lakers was 10 out of 34. They shot a lot more threes. Instead of only shooting the first game they shot 25 threes. Well, this time they shoot 34 threes. That's almost 10 more. That's 9 more three-point attempts in that game. So why are you trying to shoot as many threes when you know the high percentage shot is the 2? Thus, you're not getting to the free throw line as much because you're settling for 3. Now, I will say this, a lot of those looks were open looks, especially for Austin Reeves, who did not shoot the ball particularly well. I look for him to have a bounce back game because I won't say that it was necessarily Klay shutting him down, but what I think it could be is the defense that he has to play on the one Klay Thompson is starting to wear on him after game 1. If that's the case, that's not a good sign. We all saw Austin Reeves with his legs and feet soaking in them ice buckets after game 2. Chasing around Klay Thompson is a heavy responsibility for it, but you're a youngster. You can keep it up. But if you don't have it in your legs and you see you're not capable and you shooting all the threes short, then don't settle. Get your other teammates involved. Try to get a little bit closer to the rim. I'm hoping that he'll have that ready to go tonight. And, of course, the crowd can give him a little bit of energy to play a lot better. So, of course, we know the Golden State Warriors have not been good on the road this year. 11-30 on the road, which has been terrible. But I will say this is not Charlotte in December and they're on the road. This is the playoffs, and they are locked in. This is a totally different team. This is not Wiseman against Plumlee in the middle of the seat. Like, this is real deal NBA basketball. So all that is out the window. Who cares about that? Because you can go back and say, well, the Warriors haven't not won a road playoff game in 28 playoff series in a row, which is a huge streak. But then again, if you look at the Lakers back to 2004, they have not lost a game 3 with it being tied 1-1 since 2004. So that's a hell of a streak for the Lakers as well. But as I said, these were totally different players on totally different squads. So who cares? All those numbers go out the window when it comes to things like that. But getting back to the main point of the series, what needs to happen as far as this pick and roll coverage is the Lakers, I hope, Darvin Ham and, let's just say Coach James, we might as well say, have made the proper adjustments to say, you know what, let's just switch or let's do different coverages each time. But, either drop like you were doing in game 1, which was successful, or switch, because what you cannot do is blitz. I don't care how high the pick and roll is, and I said this leading up into the series. I said if they start playing the very high pick and roll to bring AD out of the paint, that's what they were going to have to do because he was just going to be too dominant inside. So we know that Clavon Looney didn't get the start because he was feeling under the weather, but we saw Golden State play good with JaMychal Green, who brought some level of physicality to the game, especially being the small player that he is. But what needs to happen is Anthony Davis needs to play with more ferocity, and so does LeBron James. They need to use the physicality that's to their advantage, and they need to get shots in the post. I don't want to see a lot of elbow jumpers from Anthony Davis. He needs to get the ball in the post and take Draymond Green straight up, because it's not like, oh, Draymond Green is shutting AD down. That is definitely not the case. We saw earlier in the season when AD hit a straight shot right over his game winner, right in his face, right down on the low post. So at the end of the day, Draymond Green doesn't have the size or the height to deal with Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis needs to start punishing him physically. We know Anthony Davis is more of a finesse player, but Anthony Davis needs to impose his physical will on a smaller Draymond Green, and I think that is something that he is totally capable of doing. Then you look at another adjustment that the Warriors made. They didn't give up a whole lot in the paint, more points, because if you look at Schroeder, D'Lo, and Reeves in the first game combined, they had 48 points, but in the second game, they only had 22 points combined. So really, that's not going to cut it. Reeves going to have to step up. Schroeder going to have to step up. And, of course, I think D'Lo will have a good game offensively at home. We're going to see if they continue to hide him on Wiggins or how they're going to do the adjustments, especially now that they could be going small. I think that they can still win this series. I think that the Lakers, if they make the proper adjustments and just do switches, because even if you switch and you get Anthony Davis out on the Steph Curry, then even if you're doing switches with any other team, Anthony Davis is more than capable of guarding. I'm not saying more than capable of guarding Steph Curry, but he's going to do better than any other big who would get switched off onto Stephen Curry. And he has the length that will bother him and not able to get up shots. And of course, he can recover to the rolling man if you got somebody coming up and rotating in time from the weak side for him to get back out and switch his matchup back. So at the end of the day, I think Vanderbilt can continue to guard Steph Curry, even on the pick that he's getting, to fight through the screen the best he can. Or if they choose to switch, it is what it is. But the last thing that they have to do, last thing that they need to be doing is bringing that blitz and bringing AD up out of the paint and blitzing, because Steph Curry is going to pick that apart. And we know Draymond Green is one of the best passing big men in the game, because once Draymond Green gets on that short roll, he's going to have options. He's not much of a threat shooting it off that. So I think they need to come up and blitz him regardless once he starts to roll, whether, if even if AD gets drawn out of the paint on the switch and you have a Vando out there, Vando can switch onto Draymond Green, fam. Vando is capable of switching on to Draymond Green if you switch AD on to Steph Curry. I mean, it's a mismatch. Steph Curry going to have a mismatch regardless in the switch. You just got to live with it. And the length of Anthony Davis, I think, can bother him. We've seen longer players like Kevin Love in that last finals when they played Cleveland bother Steph Curry out on the perimeter. So if you have a taller man who can actually, when AD is good on defense, he's not just going to let him blow by him because he has the length of his arms to keep him away from there. So at the end of the day, I just feel like the Lakers need to switch the coverages. Don't give them the same look every time. Switch sometimes, drop sometimes. Force them to do other plays. Don't let them do 80 or 90% of their plays into a Steph Curry pick and roll. Get them away from that and make it hard on them, because if they're strictly a jump shooting team and if they shot is off, then their game is off. And then you need to keep going to take advantage of it down where your strength is lies, and don't get into a three-point shooting contest. I saw several shots where the Lakers were just settling. If you go back to that second quarter and you see where they were tied up with 4 minutes to go and the game was like 42-42 or whatever it was, you start seeing the Lakers settle for threes, even though they was getting good looks. Don't settle. Put your head down, get to the hole, especially LeBron James. You're more than capable of doing so if the Lakers are going to be successful. My prediction is the Lakers win tonight by at least 7 or 8 points. They're going to impose their will physically. The crowd is going to be into it. It's kind of like the Memphis series on last game. And then because the Lakers, they think they too good. Like, unless they back against the wall, you're not seeing them. And what a lot of that with Anthony Davis was all effort too, because he was dragging up the court. The Lakers they haven't been a good transition defense all season long. We do know that, but it was so lackadaisical effort on the part of that of Anthony Davis. And, I just feel like the Lakers could do a whole lot better in that aspect. And you saw the look on Anthony Davis' face at the end of that game. He ready for the smoke. So we can't continue to have these up and down games. I know by now everybody's seen the graphic. He scored 31 game, 10 the next game, 31 game, 10 the next game. Well, this is one of the nights he needs to get you 30. And just because LeBron James is stepping up doesn't mean you need to disappear. You need to demand the ball down on the post. Stop taking these elbow jumpers, like I said. Get AD down on the post. If they choose to double, then make them pay. The Lakers do have players who can make them pay, depending on where they doubling from. If they want to double it off Jared Vanderbilt, then that is what it is. I trusted Jared Vanderbilt. I'm not saying he needs to shoot the three every time, but he's open for that corner three. That's a shot that he's capable of making, especially at home. I got a lot more faith in him making that shot. So we shall see. This is going to be a very pivotal game, because if the Lakers win this game and go up 2-1, then I see a dogfight in the next series, much like the Memphis series was in Game 4, and whoever's the winner of that game. If the Lakers can go up 3-1, Golden State might win the next game. But if the Lakers, the last thing they want to do is be 2-2. But I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself. The Lakers must win tonight. We know that the Golden State Warriors are going to come and be ready, and they're going to be prepared. But at the end of the day, they haven't been a great road team. I said it's not the same team, but we shall see how they react tonight. And of course, a lot of those games were without Curry. Missed some stints during the season, as well as Wiggins. We all know was away for a great amount of time. So it's going to be very interesting, to say the least. But if I had to make a prediction tonight, I think the Lakers, win in a close game, but I think they kind of run away with it in the late third quarter, early portion of the fourth quarter, and they can go up by double digits, and ultimately the Warriors put up a fight. But I think the Lakers can win by at least 6 or 7 points and take the 2-1 lead tonight. Put in the comments down below what you think about the Lakers going up tonight. What are your predictions? What is the answer for this high pick and roll that Steph Curry is doing? The Lakers must figure out a way to combat that. And plus, what adjustments can the Lakers make on offense to continue to get down into the paint? It is going to be very interesting. The one thing that I was afraid of in this series is Steve Kerr, the masterminded winning genius that he is, from his days from the Chicago Bulls to his winning days now with the Golden State Warriors, against a rookie head coach. But on that lineup, we have a very smart LeBron James who's seen it all, and I'm sure has valuable input for the coaching staff. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be kicking off here in the next few hours, so I look forward to it. We'll try to get some post-game reaction and some live stream going, so I look for anybody you to join me. If you haven't done so already, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe, and as always, this is your boy B New. I'm saying right on to the real, and much love to these haters. I'm out.